Welcome to the Imbalance Podcast, a place where we navigate the struggles and perks of single mom life, the ebbs and flows of my work in the beauty industry, quality relationships, working through personal traumas, and finding our higher purpose. Sounds like a lot of struggling? Well, it is. So grab a drink and let's try and balance it together, because who said we have to navigate through this chaos alone? Hello, you guys. Welcome to the Imbalance Podcast with me, Kat, your host. And this is a place for your weekly dose of mom brain, unfinished tasks, work fatigue, and simply trying to balance the imbalanceable with me. So first of all, I want to say thank you for being here. Sorry about my mic. I know sometimes you guys see me with a mic, without a mic. I don't know what type of curse this is, but every time I think everything is fine and set up, and then I'm trying to get the mic to connect to my computer. It's not working. I got a different computer thinking that like these things would be easier, but it's not working. So I think I just need another mic. So I will be working on that. So I hope you guys can hear me well, and I hope it doesn't sound low budget, but whatever. Here we are. We made it. I made it. Shout out to me. So this episode is going to be really fun because I'm talking about something that is dear to my heart and something that like we're all experiencing right now. So basically, I know some of you are wondering, why is everybody going crazy over the new Bad Bunny album? And let me be here to explain. I mean, I know there's already so much content out about it, and I love that. And I'm sure everybody's looking at that as well. So I just wanted to add my take on it, basically. And as far as Bad Bunny goes, he's always had an unwavering respect and love for his island and his people and his culture. But this album really pays homage to that more than ever. And if you listen, he's using traditional sounds of Puerto Rico, like kibara, bomba, plena, and salsa, and then like mixing it with today's traditional, reggaetón. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because what he's doing is he's merging different generations together. And from what I gathered in his interviews, he sort of wanted to bridge the gap between our parents' and grandparents' generation and us today, so that the same nostalgia that our elders have when they listen to the traditional music of Puerto Rico, he wanted them to feel his music and have that nostalgia while also giving that music to us, so then we grow with it and we live with it, and then we'll have nostalgia as well. So it kind of is like this cycle of life, and that's how I interpret it. And I think that is what's so beautiful about it. And I just wanted to give the space that this album deserves, which is what this podcast episode is about. Now, first and foremost, I advise you to also watch the short film that he released to go with the album. Honestly, watch the film first, so then you can really understand what he's trying to convey throughout the album. It puts the depth of the album into perspective for you and all of the layers that he's trying to unpack. Jacobo Morales is the man's name who is like the main person in the short film. It highlights him as a local to the island, and his friend is Concho, which is a cute little animated character. And what's funny about it is, me, and I feel like some other people may have thought it was a coqui frog, that is the national frog of Puerto Rico, but it's actually called El Sapo Concho, which is a toad. And this toad is a native toad to Puerto Rico, but it's actually actively endangered, and people thought it was completely extinct for like 40 years or something like that. And it was rediscovered in 1970. So him being his friend there's kind of this alignment that happens as the story kind of takes you onto the journey of Jacobo going into the town and going to the cafe to get himself something to eat. And as he's making his way there, he's passing by all of the very like Americanized things that colonization and the history of the United States with Puerto Rico highlights that relationship. So he's walking through and he sees, a house full of Americans that are vacationing, like, very commonly done. And, they're blasting like country music and they're grilling out like hamburgers and hot dogs. I'm pretty sure that's what I saw. And just doing like American shit, right? Although he's the local, he should feel like welcome. He should feel safe where he's at, but it's just kind of an obstacle, that he has to take on to his path to the cafe. So yeah, the tourists are kind of making a commotion, within the town. And he gets to the cafe and, there is what seems to be American white woman at the register, and she's asking what he wants, and she's giving him all these options, like, oh, we have this gluten-free this, we have, what type of bread do you want with this, and then do you want a cheeseless casito? And it's just a contradiction. And him, being a local and what seems to be a native to Puerto Rico, and he's just like trying to just order what he usually would get. It just seems to be very hard because of, industrialization, like the fact that he can't pay with cash, he has to pay electronically. And, he's an older dude and he's just like, I can't pay. And another person who's eating at the cafe, he comes up to him and is like, don't worry about it, I'll pay for you. And when he says that to him, he says, seguimos aquí, which means we're still here. And that part like ripped my heart out, because the other side to that is that, if they look around and all you see is the result of colonization and industrialization, that is what made me so emotional. So definitely watch that and then listen to the album after so you can really resonate with its entirety. And just for context, I am an Sabo kid. My dad is Boricua and he speaks it fluently, but he didn't speak it to us. And it is unfortunate, but I also understand. Learning a language is so important when you're younger, and also being like submerged into hearing the dialect and hearing people speak, not just someone teaching you like vocabulary words. So I didn't have that, right? But I went to school and I did study it, but conversationally, like I can't speak it. It also takes a lot of confidence as well. Like, that if you're not fluent, that you don't sound the same as people who are. So sometimes it's just like, I don't really want to embarrass myself like that. So I'm gonna just say, no Sabo. But, this is also a lot of other Boricua stories, because it's very common amongst us to not speak the language fluently. And I want to put it into perspective of why this could happen. Using my dad, for example, he grew up in New York, so he's a New Rican, and his parents were originally from the island. But then, they moved to New York at some point, and raising children in America, it was already hard for them enough. Like, they didn't have a lot of money, they had a lot of children. It was already hard enough. So to make things a little less hard, their children learning English makes their life a little bit easier and makes it easier for their children to assimilate to society. So all of my aunts and uncles, my dad grew up bilingual. So then my dad leaves New York at 18, joins the military, goes off, and he's surrounded by, a bunch of other Americans. And there is a huge percentage of Puerto Ricans in the U.S. Army, so I'm sure he came across other Boricuas, and they would chop it up in Spanish, as they would. And the point is that he's surrounded by English-speaking people most of the time. And then he meets my mom, and my mom is Black American, doesn't speak Spanish. So I don't hear that dialect in my house because they're not speaking back and forth in a different language. So I learn English, right? But what he did do is he cooked all the traditional food. You know, I would hear the music. Boricuas have like this pride, and so they're always gonna have some type of flag on them, t-shirt on them, something that represents Puerto Rico, and that is something that he has. So I always knew that like, yo, I had to represent, even though I don't know the language. And I also had never met his parents. His dad passed away before I was born, and his mom passed away when I was really young. So I met her, but I just don't have any memory of that. So you take away a whole section of where I could have learned even more. So because of all that, I felt a little disconnected. I couldn't speak it. I didn't know what people were saying. And then I moved to Virginia, where there are not a lot of Puerto Ricans, at least where I live. So a lot of the other people, they're like first generation. So their parents moved here from their country. Their parents only speak their language. And then, so they're looking at me like, how do you not know the language of your people? Like, it's so different. So yeah, I was a little self-conscious about that for a long time. But I always had the desire to learn Spanish and to be connected to the culture, no matter what. Like, it didn't discourage me. It just kind of delayed the process, I think.
Hey all! Some of you may already know this, but besides being your podcast host, I'm also a cosmetologist. I have been in the beauty industry for the past 12 years, and I specialize in curly hair care, hair cutting, and coloring in the Northern Virginia area. My books are open, and if you'd ever like to book an appointment with me, please visit my website at www.kathlena.com. I also offer an adult and child versions of my ebook, Your Natural Hair Wash and Go Style Guide, which provides key information behind the science of hair, step-by-step wash, condition, and styling process, product recommendations, and more. Purchase right now and enjoy $10 off, no code required. Now back to the show.
Also, as I got older, I love learning about history and origins. So naturally, I'm just like, I really want to learn more about the island and how it came about, and how even the relationship it has with the United States, how that happened, colonization, like the Tainos. I want to go back, and learn like where my ancestors are from. So that's what I've been doing. And I feel like just knowing and having that knowledge, it truly makes me feel a lot more whole, knowing some of that information. And I also think it's important accepting what is. Like, if you grew up on the island, obviously there's going to be differences between growing up in the island and growing up in the United States. But that doesn't make you or me or anyone else less Boricua. So my point is that you don't have to be Puerto Rican or speak Spanish to resonate or enjoy this album or connect to it. You literally just feel it. Because let me tell you something. When you put that music on and I hear the drums and the maracas and the trombone or the guitar, whatever the instruments are, when I start hearing that shit, my shoulders and my hips, you cannot tell me I'm not Boricua. Okay? Because I cannot sit still. And like, that shit makes me like, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so my favorite songs on the album, because I can't just pick one. So my favorite songs are on repeat, Nueva Yo, Baila Inolvidable. I can't say it. Sorry. Lo siento. Café con Ron, Watita. I love the instrumentals in the Hawaii song. And of course, the meaning behind it is like so beautiful. Nueva Yo will have you crash out. Like, the way that the beat dropped gave me like an outer body experience. I can't. What he I don't know if Benito knows what he did there. And then we have EO, I think that's how you pronounce it. And that's just like a really classic reggaeton sound. And it just takes me back to like middle school era. And then, of course, you have DTMF. And that one is for the people who like to cry for fun. Like, I love that song, but it's hard for me to listen to because of the way TikTok, like the trend of the videos of people passing. Like, it's too hard for me, but it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And lastly, La Mudanza, which like at the end, and I love that it's the last song. It's like the cherry on top, you know, at the end, and it's Yo soy de Pe fucking ere, like that's my shit. Yo soy de Pe fucking ere. Hey, like I know when they were making that, I know they were like dancing and shit while they were making it. That is like that tops it off for me. And when you listen to his interviews, I think he mentioned like maybe one song or something was done in New York because he just couldn't make it, but it was basically entirely made on the island with all Puerto Rican artists. And the beautiful thing about it is that the instrumentals and the musicians that he used, you know, all of that was like live, and they were all really, really young people. Like he said, like in their early 20s. So it's like beautiful that again, the music, that traditional music that we hear and we think like our elders, he brought that to life in this new generation, and it's like he kept it going. And I think that it shows all of the intention that he had when he put this artwork together. And then even like the clothes that he's wearing and some of the promo for it and some of the performances, like the clothes are just so casual, chill, like it's an island goer's, a beach goer's outfit. Like the layers and how he shares Boricua culture to the world was very intentional. And I'm just like, I wish I could just act, like pick his brain. Like, how did everybody help you or did you think of all of this on your own? Because it's truly incredible, you know? And lastly, the title of the album, Debí Tirar Más Fotos, meaning I should have taken more photos. Or maybe it's you should have taken, I think it's I should have taken more photos. It describes the feeling of this moment only lasts for now and not forever. So take those pictures, keep those things that remind you of the people that are around you now, or the feelings that you have now, or the places that you've been. Keep those things, because one day we're going to grow old and we're not going to have those people around anymore, and we're not going to have the memories. We're going to forget. So, you know, take more photos, do all of those things like he says. And this album is a reminder of that, of also having conversations with your family to get to know where they're from and what experiences they had in life growing up. Like every time I hang out with my dad, like if we're doing actually something or going somewhere, I'm always asking him questions about like his past and how he grew up and things like that. Because and in that, it's like you would think that I would have known every single thing about him, but he always shares something with me where it's like, oh, I didn't know that, or maybe I had forgotten. So keep those conversations going always, and stay connected with the present moment that you're in right now. So I hope you guys feel the urge to either listen to his album or go watch a video about Puerto Rico and how it became. It's important to understand that we are people of many cultures, people from the Caribbean as well. Like we are people from so many cultures before and after colonization, and with a lot of African influence, and other parts of the Caribbean and South America. Like bomba, like that's African. The drums and the way that they dance, that's African, and that was brought up to the islands, with other influences as well. And most importantly, just make sure if you vacation there or any place that you vacation to that's foreign, know that the land is sacred to the people who lived there and to the people that were there before them. So treat it with respect, and try to learn something about the people that are there, like live in their space, and while you're taking advantage of the beauty of the place that you're in, really learn about the people that are there and the customs and maybe a little bit of history, because I think that is what connects us as humans, because although we can be very different, we all are still human as well. And I hope that maybe this will inspire you to learn more about your family history and ancestry and the cultures by speaking to the elders and listening to their stories. So thank you again for listening, and I'll see you next time.
Let's stay connected. You can find me on Instagram at imbalancedwithcat or on my website imbalancedpod.com. Give me a follow or a podcast review, and I'd love to share it on air. Thanks again for listening. Hope you enjoyed this show.